Butch and Bob Show.
World famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio. Bob, how's it going?
It's going.
It's going.
Trying to get on the road to recovery. Got a doctor's appointment today. Try to get rid of this junk. Can't get rid of it.
All right.
Getting rough.
Well, good luck with that. We've got State Senator Blake Tillery on the phone with us right now. Take it away, Bob.
It's Tuesdays with Tillery, and State Senator Blake Tillery joins us. Blake, always good to have you. Appreciate you being here on the show. What's on your schedule for today?
Hey man, good to hear you too. The way you talk about it's going, man, that sounds like me up here. So we're symbiotic folks, just 180 miles away from each other.
It's been rough. A lot of people dealing with it. Like I said, I just can't shake it. Been in bed for 3 days, but finally got a doctor's appointment today. So hopefully I'll find something to get rid of it.
We had a lot of people out here. Flu apparently is pretty heavy, and then back home, I mean, my wife carrying the burden. I'm so grateful for her. Both of our little boys are sick, so I don't know how she does it. Today, nothing on the Senate's rules calendar, which means nothing on the floor, but several things on the plate for in committee. We talked last week about the bill I had related to immigration. That was in the Public Safety Committee yesterday briefly. Basically, all it says is if you're not enforcing Georgia immigration laws, you stand responsible as a city or a county or an individual elected official for what happens because of it. It holds you personally responsible. So there's a lot of folks who stood up to speak against that. Go figure. But I think that bill is going to pass the Senate. It's in line with President Trump's agenda on immigration. It's obviously the right thing to do for folks saying we ought to enforce our immigration laws that we have. Today in committee, I've got a bill related to the Department of Education. It's in the Education and Youth Committee, which basically just says when the feds are giving guidance related to our state education system, when they're telling us that we have to teach things like, depending on what the thing, obviously you can guess what those things may be, that they have to we have to post that and talk about it first and how the state's going to implement it before the State Board of Education just goes and implements it, or the State Department of Education. And then the third bill that I have tomorrow in committee, another controversial matter, but not for me, is about transgender surgeries. You know, we're paying for that with state taxpayer dollars on the state health benefit plan right now. And my bill basically says state taxpayer dollars are not going to go for these types of surgeries. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of opposition to that one. But again, I think those are the right things to do.
Well, you mentioned the president's administration and their agenda. Like I said, they're doing exactly what they stated they would do. And I was in Brunswick yesterday. A couple of restaurants were closed down. I saw there was a local protest here, people waving the Mexican flag. Any of that going on up in Atlanta? Any businesses being shut down? But again, the president's doing exactly what he said he was going to do.
I've not seen any businesses shut down. My personal belief, I think it's the belief of a lot of folks who live in our area. If you've come here legally, we want you. We want to support you. We're glad you're here. But if you come here illegally, it's not fair for you to jump in line in front of those folks who are doing things the right way. So that's my view on it. I think it's the view of most of the folks in our area.
I agree. Anything else? And I said I haven't really heard much of what's going on in the session up there, and it must be kind of quiet. Everybody must be getting along because I don't hear a lot statewide news about it. So what's the big story in Atlanta with the state legislation?
Well, right. The House should come out with a little budget, the amended budget, this week, which will obviously ramp up my job responsibilities a lot the next week. That's why I'm trying to get these bills out of committee early on the transgender surgeries, banning that, and banning the state paying for it, obviously my immigration bill. So expect things to pick up a lot on Thursday. We're 10 days in right now, so we're 25% through session. And if we can move it faster, I'd be all for that. I think folks are ready to get our work done, get home.
You ready to get back to Vidalia, aren't you?
You know, I'm just ready to get back to South Georgia. It's good to feel dirt under your feet, not concrete.
Still days away from crossover day, things like that, right? The bills are just being introduced at this point. I mean, nothing's been debated at this point, has it?
Well, we had one bill already pass the Senate floor yesterday. So one made it all the way through, but most things right now are in committee getting a full vetting. Like my immigration bill yesterday, I have no doubt that it's going to pass, but there's some things we could do better. Like for instance, one of the parts of that immigration bill said if you showed you could show certain forms of ID to prove that you were a citizen. One of them was a driver's license. Well, somebody brought up correctly, hey, if some states are giving out licenses to folks who aren't here legally, doesn't that kind of break our rule? So we had to go back and fix those things. And just again, that's why it's so good to have 236 people looking at your bill. There's things you're going to get wrong. There's things you're going to miss. I do not hold the I don't have the exclusive rights to being correct. I know that. So, um, again, a lot of people working together to try to make better bills at the end.
If you're just joining us on the phone with the State Senator Blake Tillery, again, everyone knows you help oversee the budget. They mentioned the corrections situation in the state of Georgia, and money has to be sent to secure those prisons and prisoners. But do they have a price tag yet? Have they agreed on how much money is going to be put into the federal correction system here in the state of Georgia yet, or that's still being up for debate?
Yeah, state correction. We spend about $2 billion a year housing 50,000 individuals. The cost of a
Say that
new
again.
prison for us,
$2 billion. Is that what you said with the B?
roughly $2 billion a year to house 50,000 inmates. The cost of a new prison to hold between 1,500 and 2,000 ish people is going to be about $1 billion. And after you build it, as soon as you're done building it, know that you're going to be doing maintenance on day 2. Because when people have free time and bad intentions, they will start breaking things, whether it be doors, locks, or hinges, the first day out. But that being said, we have a duty to make sure that our employees, the guards, are safe, that folks who are sentenced to 10 years don't serve life. In other words, they make it out, and that the public at large is protected. So we have a duty to make sure these things are handled correctly. Our society is built around law and order. We'll spend the right amount of money to make sure we get it correct. I do think we've got to raise prison guard pay. Our starting pay prison guard right now is around $40,000. You know, our average teacher pays around $67,000. Some say 71. I still give them the benefit of the doubt and say 67. We spend about 53% of our state budget on education, about 23% of our state budget on health, most of that in Medicaid and the state health benefit plan. So corrections is way on down the list. It's going to be less than 5%. $37 billion budget is going to be about 2.5%. So, in the end, I do know we owe it to those folks to do better. And I mean, I don't know that anybody would go for $43,000 and sit in some of the prisons, as dangerous as they are after criminal justice reform. I don't know anyone who would do that. I don't know they'd do it for 50, but we do owe them a duty to make sure they're compensated for what they're doing, especially when we've got a 70% vacancy rate in some prisons.
Again, anyone wants to get a hold of you during the session, you're always accessible, so you always give out your phone number, things like that, so we'll let you do that at this time.
Yeah, thanks. Just call up here to the Capitol. If you want to call and talk to Miss Angela and me, or Emma is our intern from the University of Georgia who's working with us this year, 404-656-0089. But if that doesn't work, just call me directly. Call my cell phone. It's 912-245-9915. If I can't respond to that, I might be able to text you back a little bit quicker, because sometimes they frown upon us talking on our phone in committee meetings or on the floor. But we usually can pull something aside and text you back. So, again, thank y'all for the opportunity to be on this morning. Let me say one more thing. I know it's become a big issue back home. I don't mind wading into it. I did this at Eggs and Issues. House Bill 581 overwhelmingly passed our area last year. House Bill 581 takes and allows the local property tax for homeowners, your homestead property tax, to essentially be frozen at the cost of CPI, which is it's only going to rise about 3% a year. I do not see a reason why any entity should opt out of that. Our citizens overwhelmingly approved it. They've told us that property taxes were increasing too fast. We have a duty to live within our means and tighten our belt, just like our citizens do. So I don't know why any entity would want to opt out of that provision, especially when, if you don't opt out, you have a provision that you can levy 1 cent extra of sales tax, which for 90% of cities in Georgia would mean they do not have to levy a property tax. So our voters overwhelmingly approved it. I think it's something that our local government should approve as well. I think our citizens are telling us that the taxes are too high already.
Well, the good news here in Wayne County, both the school board and the county have opted to stay in and did not opt out. City will have it on their work session and budget, or on their regular agenda today. So, again, the school board kind of battled with it. They said they really didn't know all the details until the state legislature did what they have to do. But you're saying the smart thing is to not opt out. Is that correct?
If our voters overwhelmingly approved it 75% plus, that they were telling us their property taxes are too high, I don't think it's wise for us to go against them at that high of a margin. Additionally, I know that there's some scary things for local governments about staying in House Bill 581, not opting out of this homestead freeze. First of all, remember, our citizens are tightening their belt during this time when they've seen the price of eggs go from $2.19 a gallon to $5.39. I mean, $2.19 a dozen to $5.39 a dozen. They're tightening their belt. We got to do that too. It's not going to be easy. It's certainly not fun, but that's what we're called to do as leaders.
Blake, always good to have you here on the show on Tuesdays. Tuesdays with Tillery. Again, stay safe in Atlanta. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good morning.
Take care, Blake.
Bye.
All right, Blake Tillery here on Big Dog Country Radio, WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup. Well, we got some folks out there, I believe, from the Wayne County Chamber of Commerce that's going to be on the show. Y'all come on back. We'll have the chamber on in about 90 seconds.
South Georgia weather.
Here's your WIFO forecast.
Good morning, everyone. Caution on the roadways this morning. We've got a dense fog advisory in effect through mid-morning. Visibility at times will be less than a quarter of a mile. Once the fog lifts, we'll be seeing more sunshine, especially getting into the afternoon. Highs today in the mid-70s. Tonight clear, a low of 55. Tomorrow's sunshine will be just a few degrees cooler, and then on Thursday, mostly sunny and close to 80 degrees. I'm Georgia meteorologist Laura Huckabee in the GNN Weather Center.
I am really not a hunter, but I know that many of you are. You know how to set traps to capture your prey. But have you ever considered that you may actually be the prey? That you have an enemy who wants to take you captive? He's a master at setting traps, and his name is Satan. The Bible teaches us that we should be aware of his schemes, that we must learn to become vigilant against his strategies. That's why Scripture warns us to be alert and of sober mind, because our enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. Just as Eve was deceived by Satan in the Garden of Eden, we too are often deceived by his subtle lies, which play on our fears, insecurities, and desires. He uses half-truths and distractions and temptations to draw us away from following God. Jesus came to teach us how to stand against our enemy and how to avoid his well-laid traps. We do this by staying grounded in God's Word. Pray for discernment and rely on the guidance from the very Spirit of God himself.
Brought to you by your friends in Christ.
Well, we continue on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup. Bob, we got another guest here on the show this morning. Who do we have?
As you mentioned, the Chamber's in with us. Faith Tiston's with us. Faith, always good to see you. I know they got a big event coming up on Thursday, February 13th, their annual State of Education. So you have all the details, so appreciate you coming in.
Yes, thank you. So we have our State of Education, like Bob said, next Thursday, February 13th, and that is from 11 to 1 at Coastal Pines. So this is an annual event that we do every year. We will announce the salutatorian and the valedictorian, and then we will also announce our Page Star Student and Star Teacher of the Year at this event. So it's always a really fun time. We also have several speakers lined up, a little bit more than normal, but we have Mr. Lonnie Roberts, who's the president of Coastal Pines Technical College. We have Tony Williams, who is the superintendent of the Board of Education. Richard Rentz, who is the superintendent of Coastal Plains High School. Sherry Bowen, who is the head of school at Wayne Christian Academy. And then Dr. Reggie Burgess will be speaking on behalf of Partners in Education. So it is $30 for chamber members to attend, and it is $40 for people who are not chamber members to attend. But this is a public event. Anyone is welcome to come, attend, hear all the information that we're going to share. The deadline to register for this event is this Friday, February 7th.
All right, sounds good.
Yes, so that is all with this one. We do want to thank our sponsors. So, of course, our quarterly membership sponsor for this year is First Horizon Bank. Our presenting sponsor for this event is Georgia Power. Then our Page Star sponsor is Marsh Lane Credit Union. Our event sponsors are Interstate Credit Union, RIAM, the Wayne County School System. Our strategic partner is Wayne County Industrial Development Authority, and then a community partner is Wayne County Partners in Education.
All right, sounds good.
Also today, we have a ribbon cutting for Callie's Wraps. That will be at 10 o'clock today at their storefront, 123 South Macon Street.
123 South Macon Street, right downtown Jesup.
Yes.
Callie's Wrap, is that correct?
It is the perfect little address.
Yep,
But
we
yep.
got some delicious soup. Different
Yes,
soups
everything that
every
they
day.
make.
Good stuff.
Okay.
So that
and what
should-
time is that?
That is at 10 o'clock today.
So ribbon cutting at 10 o'clock at Callie's Wrap, 123 South Macon Street in downtown Jesup. And, you know, I love it when restaurants like that have ribbon cuttings because they always have such good food.
And they do. And it's right before their lunch, before they open for lunch. So you can come join in on the festivities and then get you a sandwich to go.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
also, at the end of the month, I'm just covering everything for February.
Go right ahead.
We have a business after hours at Martha Puckett Middle School. They actually scheduled for October, and then all the hurricanes and everything else happened, so they have rescheduled for this month. So that should be a good time. That will be on Thursday, February 27th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. It is a business after hours, and their address is 475 Durrance Road.
Okay. Sounds good.
That's all I have for y'all
A
today.
school having a business after hours. I like that.
I know.
Yeah.
We'll be interested to see
Yeah.
what kind of entertainment and stuff they
That's
come up
right.
with.
What are they going to come up with there at Martha Puckett? I'm sure it's going to be really good. So that's what's going on with the Chamber of Commerce here in Wayne County here in February.
That is it for this month so far. We might add a couple things later on, but
Yep,
we'll see.
I noticed on your website, you've got all kinds of ribbon cuttings and coffee and cards.
Yes.
Coffee card exchange, and business after hours. All kinds of stuff going on for the next several months. But we don't have to go into them right now. But you can go to the website. Your website is
WayneChamberGA.com.
got to put that GA in there, folks, because there's a lot of Wayne counties in the United States. So
yes.
WayneCountyGA.com. Is
Yep.
.com?
.com. And then we have an events tab. They click that events tab, and we have an events calendar, and that is strictly all chamber events.
Okay. Anything else, Faith?
That is all that I have for today.
All right, Bob. Anything else for her?
Yep, good to see you.
All right, we'll be back with more of the world famous Butch and Bob show in a moment.
South Georgia weather.
Here's your WIFO forecast.
Good morning, everyone. Caution on the roadways this morning. We've got a dense fog advisory in effect through mid-morning. Visibility at times will be less than a quarter of a mile. Once the fog lifts, we'll be seeing more sunshine, especially getting into the afternoon. Highs today in the mid-70s. Tonight clear, a low of 55. Tomorrow, sunshine will be just a few degrees cooler, and then on Thursday, mostly sunny and close to 80 degrees. I'm Georgia meteorologist Laura Huckabee in the GNN Weather Center.
Well, 2 guests, Bob, and we still got 11 minutes left. But you were a part of a news story yesterday.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got subpoenaed by the state. They want the interview with Jackie Johnson that we had on the Butch and Bob show when she graciously gave us the interview that everybody wanted. You know, when the firestorm hit after the video came out of the shooting of Almont Arbery. But she
Yeah, that
came,
video came out, and she
Right.
came here on the Butch and Bob show in May of
What people-
2020.
Yeah, what people don't understand, you know, they kind of forget. Almont Arbery was shot, and there was no protest. There was no uproar. The Glenn County Police Department ruled it a self-defense shooting, and the funeral was held, and that went on for 60, 70 days. Then the video surfaced, and then the firestorm from the national media came, and it was a totally different event. And like I mentioned, everybody wanted Jackie Johnson's comments, and like I said, she came and explained herself thoroughly that she recused herself from the case due to conflict, and that's basically where she stood and has stood up to this point. But unfortunately, she got indicted, and she faces 2 counts, but now 1 count's been thrown out. And listening to the judge yesterday, he was about ready to throw out the 1st count as well, but he just says he wants more time to have the attorneys send him their briefs. But listen to the argument by Brian Steele. The judge was basically telling the state that they've got a big hurdle even get the first count. So
Yeah, because you've had no law officer come forward and say that Jackie told them not to do anything. Matter of fact, she didn't even talk to him.
I mean, the interview, I think, backfired because right after the interview, the state rested, and then they asked for the directed verdict, and you heard the judge, there's not one scintilla of evidence supporting the obstruction charge. She didn't. Even the officer in the indictment testified that Jackie Johnson never instructed her to do anything.
Right.
Wasn't involved at all. So I know one thing, looking out in that courtroom, there's a lot of support in that courtroom for the former DA. There's a lot of judges in there. There's a lot of staff that's been, there's...
So the defense starts today.
The defense starts
today. And they're bringing in some heavy supporters for Jackie.
They're bringing in judges from the circuit. They're bringing in prosecutors from the circuit. They're all in support of Jackie Johnson, saying she did nothing wrong. She did not violate her oath of office. I just don't see it. I'll be surprised if it gets to the jury.
When I found out when I got contacted by the Attorney General's office that they were going to use that interview and if you could be there to basically verify that was you and that was her and when it was done and that kind of stuff like that. I'm thinking, why is the prosecution doing this? This is more of a defense thing because it just laid out step by step by step just after the video came out. We're the only media that she did anywhere like this, none other anywhere. And as you can see, it basically was better for the defense than it was for the prosecution because the judge threw out one of the charges after everybody heard the 35-minute interview that we had with Jackie Johnson in May of 2020.
Yeah, I said we're glad to provide it, glad to verify it was our, but the entire interview played in front of the jury. The sad thing is that one of the Atlanta papers, they've got the station wrong. Instead of WIFO, they called it WYFO.
Yeah,
I noticed TOC mentioned the interview, but they didn't give us any credit for
They did not give. I got to call the manager there because I know her, and I'm going to give her a hard time about that. Well, they didn't give us any credit. They said a local radio station. I was hoping to get. I didn't see anything on TV about it. I said, I saw it in their webpage there about a local radio station because WIFO 105.5 FM. I think the other media around, Bob, I'm just going to say they're just jealous because we got the interview and they didn't. They don't want to give us any airtime for it. Of course, I'm just kidding there. But
I had to be there early. I thought I was going to be called early, but I needed to call today afternoon. But I had a good conversation with Sheriff Neil Jump. He gave me that was nice. The sheriff says, anything I can do, here's
Sheriff of where?
Glenn County.
Glenn County. Neil Jump, the sheriff.
Yeah,
okay.
Good friends with Chuck Mosley. He told me a funny story, but probably not.
No,
should tell all the story.
No, don't say
when I see Chuck Mosley, I'll tell him.
You'll tell the story to him.
But I got a kick out of that story that Sheriff Jump told me about in the old days when Chuck Mosley was riding with him as officer. So,
yeah.
But like I said, there's just I met several of Jackie's family. First time I got to meet her sister. So like I said, there's.
Have you met her dad before?
No,
you hadn't. Okay.
No, but there's a lot of support in that courtroom for the former DA. So.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it plays out. But like I said, the judge, I thought for sure he was going to pull the trigger on the dropping the first count as well. But he just wants to see more information and
he wants to get briefs from them, read them over, make sure he makes the right thing.
I think he's giving the state every opportunity. But like I said, they, from everybody I talked to down there, every witness that the state's called has basically been a better witness for the defense than the state. They don't have much. There's not much to these charges against the former DA. She did exactly what she said she was going to do. She recused herself. She didn't have anything to do with it. In the interview, she talks about where she was the day of the shooting. It was her mother's birthday. She was down in St. Mary's celebrating her mother's birthday. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
Right, the defense starts today. We'll keep folks updated what's happening. And the judge may make a decision to drop that first charge, or he may send it to the jury when things over. We don't know yet.
Right. They've got some heavy hitters on that defense list, though. Like I said, there's a lot of former judges. There's a lot. There's judges in that courtroom.
Former judges or current judges?
There's
current judges too.
Judges,
judges that'll be there talking about their experiences.
Judge Kelly's on the list. There's a lot of people, because of course Jackie worked for Steve Kelly. Steve Kelly used to be
the DA. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
before he became a Superior Court judge.
It was a unique experience, though. Like I said,
did you have to sit up there on the stand during the 35 minutes?
I had to sit there the whole
35 minutes.
Yeah.
Everybody could focus on you.
Yeah.
Can't scratch your ear, scratch your nose. You can't do nothing, man. Everybody's looking at you.
Terry Dixon 4 times. He said, "I'm gonna take your picture." He said, "People don't know you really exist." I said, "Don't take my picture." But unfortunately, they did.
They did.
But I was dressed up. I had the red sweater on and the shirt and ties. So
all right, looking good there for the cameras.
I tried to represent the station as best I could. But like I said, the interview. Like I said, I listened to the interview. I was like you. I was puzzled. The more I listened to the interview, I just didn't understand how it could help the state.
It's been almost 5 years since I've listened to the interview because I was not here that week that the interview was done. And so I listened to it when it was posted, and I'm thinking, that she pretty well laid it out right there. And when the Attorney General's office called and said they wanted to use the interview, I'm saying, well, that's fine. They already had it.
Right.
They already had it in pocket.
I mean, and like I said, they knew the investigation was she's being investigated, and she says 3 times in that interview that she welcomed the investigation, that she wanted the truth to come out. She wanted people to understand that she didn't do anything wrong.
So there wouldn't be any doubt there.
Right. And Brian still, I mean, the Almont Arbery apparently is upset that she had no contact with her, but Brian Steele, the defense attorney, explained to him, look, it wasn't Jackie Johnson who said it was self-defense. It wasn't Jackie Johnson who said your son was involved in a robbery. This was all the Glenn County Police Department who let these guys walk. See, that's the thing that keeps – I just can't grasp my head around it. If somebody in Wayne County gets shot in the middle of the street, I don't think the Jesup Police Department's letting them walk home. That's what happened down in Glenn County.
Yeah.
Almont Arbery was shot and killed in the middle of the street. Police show up, talk to the people that shot him, and say, well, looks like self-defense. Y'all go on home.
That's what happened.
That's what happened.
Wow.
And it stayed that way for 67 days until the video. And that's what I kept asking Jackie Johnson. And it finally came out of the trial. The police department had that video day 1.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, they had it day 1.
Wow.
So that was the question I kept asking Jackie in the interview. Who had the video? Who looks at that video and says that's self-defense? Well, I mean, who does that? Apparently, Glenn County Police Department does that because that's what took place.
You think things will change around where the Attorney General's office may go after the Glenn County Police office like they did Jackie?
I don't think they are.
You don't think so?
This was just... They needed somebody to blame. They blamed Jackie. And like I said, unfortunately, these charges have been filed against her, but one's been thrown out. And I just don't see how they have the other one stick. But we'll see. You never know what a jury's going to do. But, again, listening to that judge yesterday, I think he's close to pulling the trigger all the way and saying,
there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
No. All right, we'll see. We'll keep people updated on that, and glad things went pretty well for you yesterday. And, Bob, you always seem like you got to wait somewhere longer than you think,
It was a long day.
Long day.
But I had some good conversations.
You made some contacts, made some good conversations.
Anytime the sheriff of Glenn County says, hey, anything I tell, I mean, that was a good day.
Now, see, over in Glenn County, they have a sheriff's department, and then
police
they have a
department.
Glenn County Police Department.
Right.
They have 2 different law. It's not like here we have the city of Jesup and the sheriff department. They have a sheriff's department and a Glenn County Police Department. So they have 2 different law enforcement agencies there in Glenn County, not counting the city of Brunswick.
Yeah. And also, I found out there's a lot of people in Glenn County that listen to the Butch and Bob show. They're like, I've listened to your song. How did I get to meet? Now I know what you look like.
I guess they weren't watching the days that we used to have it on Facebook or whatever we used to have it on. Whatever streamed it live. We used to have the camera set up here, but that was years ago.
Yeah, don't bring those days up. My sister still giving me a hard time for
she was giving you how you dressed, how you look.
Right.
You got 4 sisters out there giving you comments, right?
Can you wake up?
Were you like that growing up with them? Were you still a half asleep person in the morning, or when you were growing up?
I guess I really don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
You need to ask your sisters. They can tell you.
I told them that's why I work in radio. You don't have to get dressed up.
All right, Bob. Anything else?
No, just congrats to Tate Altman, crowned king last night.
Tate Altman crowned king of what?
Yeah. King in his court.
King in his. Oh yeah, that's right. The basketball.
Yeah, right. They've got a homecoming king ceremony during basketball where the king in his court instead of the queen in her court.
King in his court. Tate Altman.
Tate Altman, Heather's son, is the Wayne County king for the year 2025.
All right. Long live the king.
Yeah.
All right.
congrats to him.
Well, take care. All right, the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup has been brought to you by Heron Aldridge Insurance. Also brought to you by Murphy Builder Supply, First Southern Bank, and by the Service Department at GNS Auto Sales.